Ciao, ciao, दोस्तों कैसे हो? Ciao, ciao. Calcio Charcha is back with another live stream. Obviously, as promised, more content to look forward to. And today, obviously, as you might have seen in the thumbnail, we will be discussing, or rather, we will be doing a preview of the UEFA Super Cup Final, जो obviously 2 दिन के time में है. And we'll be discussing everything. Obviously, it is PSG versus Aston Villa, and we'll be talking about everything. We'll be talking about how both teams have shaped up so far into preseason, the build up to both teams, what the transfer market has looked like for both, and how this face off will be like, because obviously both teams have faced each other. We will be having Ajay Bhai and Shivam also joining us. So I'm just waiting for them to join in. So I'll just start the discussion in a bit. Until then, I'll just see who else is in the house. We have Mangesh, of course. Mangesh, nice to have you. We were supposed to have Mangesh also on the panel, but he's busy. Otherwise, of course, he's always welcome to join. Ajay bhai here being very sarcastic. I mean, if anybody is late, you guys have to blame him, obviously. He's late as well. We get it from an Arsenal fan, Abhijay, who says who cares about the Super Cup. But I'm pretty sure if Arsenal had won the UCL final, you would have probably been very excited about it. So guys, obviously we are very close to 3k subscribers, so please do like this stream, please do share, and there is a lot of content that is on your way. As you can see, daily basis पे हम लोग अभी post कर रहे हैं. So please do like, share, and subscribe, and obviously be a part of the community and keep your comments coming in. Today simply as discussed, हम लोग बात करेंगे PSG versus Aston Villa, compare करेंगे दोनों teams को and just discuss. Shivam is in the house. Shivam, can you hear me? Are you there? शिवम का आई थिंक ऑडियो अभी भी फिक्स हो रहा है. He's come with his username of Chota Galarza, which is very interesting. Shivam, whenever you fix your audio, let me know, man. But yeah, Shivam will be back with us. I'm also waiting for Ajay bhai to join because वो भी आने वाले हैं, and Chintan bhai also might join. So we'll just wait for the discussion to begin. But initially, I just want to ask you guys in the comments as well. क्या लग रहा है इस final के बारे में आप लोग को? Because obviously a matchup. Just let's discuss the initial vibe about this game before we delve into the teams, the tactics and everything. कैसा लग रहा है? Because दोनों के लिए अगर आप obviously these two teams have faced off in the past not too long ago, obviously in the Champions League itself, and ये obviously दो सीजन 24-25 सीजन में मैच हुआ था इन दोनों टीम्स का. एंड obviously फर्स्ट लेग जो था PSG जीती थी at home 3-1, and then second leg was won by Aston Villa, which was 3-2 obviously. So obviously both teams have played each other, so I just want to get people's comments and understand what you guys like. What's the vibe you guys get from these teams? Obviously, I'll give in my opinion. Shivam, can you एक बार बात करके देख? Is it? Can you speak?
हाँ, अभी आवाज आ रही है ना मेरी?
हाँ हाँ, perfect. So शिवम, मैं तेरे से start करता हूँ. Then I'll give my opinion as well, and I want the comments to chip in as well. Since it's pre-season, right? Since ये pre-season mode है, अपन उसी तरीके से discussion चालू करते हैं. क्या vibe आ रही है दोनों टीम से? Because अगर तू, मैं quickly like I'll show it on the screen also. अगर तू pre-season की बात करे तो Mallorca और Man United are the only two games PSG have played, obviously, because उनके 18 प्लेयर तो वर्ल्ड कप में ही थे, सब लेट आ गए. एंड इवन व्हेन Luis Enrique started his early preparations, he had to mainly call up all the youth talent only. एंड अगर तुम एस्टन विला का भी प्री सीजन देखो तो बहुत ऊपर नीचे रहा है, मतलब प्री सीजन रहा essentially, because obviously they lost your Morgan Rogers, Tielemans and whatnot. They play, but obviously they've played, at least played more games than PSG have. They've played Walsall, they've played Porto, they've played Real Sociedad, they've played Pathum United and even Bayern Munich last. क्या क्या वाइब आ रहा है दोनों अर्ली टीम से?
या फर्स्टली कैमरा मेरा 5 मिनट में स्टार्ट हो जाएगा बिकॉज आई हैव
नो वरीज बोल, यू कैन कंटिन्यू, बोला.
आई थिंक मेरे को लग रहा है कि पीएसजी के हिसाब से दिस माइट बी अ टूर्नामेंट स्लैश कप जो मे बी दे टेक अ लिटिल बिट लाइटली बिकॉज लास्ट टाइम भी जब उन्होंने खेला था अगेंस्ट स्पर्स तो हमने देखा था कि उन्होंने लाइटली लिया था. बट आई थिंक एस्टन विला हैज अ गुड चांस ऑफ विनिंग अ ट्रॉफी बिकॉज यूएफए सुपर कप इज अ इम्पोर्टेंट ट्रॉफी. ऑल्दो यूरोपा लीग टीम्स के लिए बहुत ज्यादा सक्सेसफुल ट्रॉफी नहीं है, मेजोरिटी टाइम्स यूसीएल टीम जीती है. आई थिंक आई माइट हैव टू फैक्ट चेक बट कुछ लास्ट 2 डेकेड में सिर्फ एटलेटिको ही यूरोपा लीग विनिंग टीम है जो जीत पाई है ट्रॉफी. लास्ट टाइम फर्स्ट केम वेरी क्लोज बट देन ऑब्वियसली लीग
I
the again happened. We had मतलब best PSG परफॉर्मेंस थी उसकी. तो to the season कि आप स्टार्टिंग में थोड़ा सा मीडियम इंटेंसिटी का अगर आप मैच खेल लो और अगर आपको एक सिल्वरवेयर मिल जाता है तो इट
hmm,
बूस्ट द मोरल ऑफ द स्क्वाड. चाहे पीएसजी की बात करें तो उनको एक स्टार्टिंग में बूस्ट मिल जाएगा बिकॉज उनको ये गेम तो खेलना ही है. दे आल्सो हैव अ ट्रॉफीज द चैंपियंस. मैं कहीं पढ़ रहा था कि डेम्बेले अपेरेंटली इज वेरी मोटिवेटेड फॉर दिस गेम. आई डोंट नो अबाउट
hmm,
द डेट. तो अच्छा स्टार्ट होगा पीएसजी के लिए. एंड इफ एस्टन विला विंस they will also start their campaign pretty well because उनको यूरोप खेलना है. And they already have one silverware. And Premier League में definitely they will try once again to feature in top five spots. So
hmm.
interesting होगा.
फेयर फेयर आई मीन एक चीज तूने बराबर बोली विच ऑब्वियसली मैंने जैसे बोला कमेंट्स में भी आप लोग बताओ आपको क्या लगता है दोनों टीम्स के अर्ली वाइब्स के बारे में. बट आई एग्री विद यू कि ये दोनों के लिए थोड़ा टेस्टिंग ग्राउंड है इन द सेंस दैट ऑब्वियसली यूएफए सुपर कप जीतना तो है बट if you really look at what PSG like if I come back to PSG very quickly and then go to Aston Villa to PSG का ही देख like a lot of the chunk was not that the senior team players have just returned to the point
हाँ.
where Ajay Bhai is also here. I'll get his opinion as well. But to the point where Luis Enrique has to call up everyone possible. Like Lucas Digne was just signed. He's been called up to the team. If you see, I think Marquinhos also obviously थोड़ा extra rest लेके आया था वो भी आ गया squad में. I'll pull up visually because PSG have announced their squad actually for the UEFA Super Cup final. बोल कुछ बोल रहा था शिव.
एक हाँ एक चीज है जो थोड़ा सरप्राइजिंग है कि I don't think Luis Enrique takes Super Cup seriously and I don't really understand why because दो सुपर कप खेले. मुझे बारसा वाला सुपर कप याद है आज ही के दिन इनफैक्ट हुआ था 10 साल पहले. एंड
Hmm.
दैट वाज वन ऑफ द क्रेजीएस्ट सुपर कप गेम्स. 5-4 जीता था अगेंस्ट सेविया.
Yeah.
लास्ट में गोल मारा था. आई थिंक आल्वा ने मारा था किसने मारा था. तो वो एक बहुत
Hmm.
एंटरटेनिंग गेम हुआ था. एंड देन हमने
Hmm.
स्पर्स वाला देखा था. तो आई थिंक एनरिके स्पेशली इसको एज अ टेस्ट की तरह लेता ऑन द काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स व्हिच ही tries to implement in the season. And I have some kind of doubts going into this season for PSG. But मेरे हिसाब से the more motivated manager will be Unai Emery because I
Hmm.
don't think Unai Emery has ever won a Super Cup. मतलब कोई chat में
He's
सही कर
lost all
सकता है.
three. If I'm not wrong, three attempts. He's lost it all. So, if I'm
तो
not
ही
wrong.
विल बी
So,
मोटिवेटेड कि चलो उसको एक ट्रॉफी चाहिए. एंड जो अभी वो रिकॉर्ड की बात की कि यूरोपा लीग टीम आफ्टर एटलेटिको कोई नहीं जीता है. सो दैट्स अ
yeah.
गुड अचीवमेंट टू हैव इन हिज कैबिनेट. एंड ऑब्वियसली पीएसजी वाला तो उसका फैक्टर रहेगा द वे ही गॉट सैक्ड एंड एवरीथिंग लाइक दैट. सो ही वांट्स टू
Hmm.
प्रूव. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि एमरी ज्यादा मोटिवेटेड होगा इस ट्रॉफी के लिए.
Hmm. So वही like before I come to अजय मैं वो वही बोल रहा था कि पीएसजी के लिए आई अग्री कि थोड़ा प्रेपरेटरी वाइब लग रहा है बिकॉज ऑल्सो आई फील इधर एनरिके के लिए रियली लोड मैनेजमेंट की बात है बिकॉज अभी उसको नूनो मेंडेस भी इंजरी के बाद मिल रहा है तो वो सोच रहा होगा भाई कि मैं किसको रिस्क करूं किसको नहीं रिस्क करूं ऑलरेडी बहुत सारी इंजरीज से प्लेयर रिकवर हो रहे हैं तो हाउ डू आई गो अबाउट दिस एंड आई अगेन विल कम टू प्रेडिक्टेड लाइनअप्स बट आई विल नॉट बी सरप्राइज्ड इफ ही फील्स अ लॉट ऑफ द यूथ a mix of a youth and some of only maybe a few of the senior players because पूरा प्रीसीजन उसने यूथ प्लेयर्स को बहुत बहुत ट्राई किया है इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग he had gone with this thing uh, Jantu had started I think if I watched couple like one of their preseason games and all this so I don't know I feel I even if as Unai Emery has a very bad record with the Super Cup final I don't know I feel PSG जैसे तूने बोला might be a bit experimental and for Aston Villa I also agree I feel Unai Emery is at that point where he has to kind of finally win the Super Cup. I mean, three finals, three of them, thrice he's lost, obviously, all of them. And Aston Villa के लिए भी अगर तू देख, like उनका भी अभी transfer news आया तो कहते Evan and Gesand is on his way out, so they are also very work in progress. John McGinn, I think that's a big miss. He's injured. He's out for the final. उसकी injury just pre-season में हुई थी. So yeah, वो भी injured है. But at least with them, you can see there is a certain level of prep that way. Like obviously, big losses we spoke of, and I'll come to Ajay Bhai just in a couple of minutes, is Yuri Tielemans and obviously Morgan Rogers. But they still went out and got Manzambi, Emi Martinez. का पता नहीं if he's going to be there, but at least that situation is sorted. वो रहने वाला है obviously at Aston Villa. So I feel in pre-season from what I read and what I followed, obviously backline जो है has been kind of the star performing or at least the standout performing like Lindelof बहुत midfield में भी खेला है pre-season में to kind of cover up and Gomez भी खेला है so he's gotten some legs but वही like I think Ajay bhai I'll come to you because the vibe me and Shivam were discussing is very very preparatory, like from both teams, and understandably so. What is the sense you're getting? Because today when I put out a poll on Instagram from our account, I simply asked, "Who do you think will win the UEFA Super Cup final?" And 86% I think are leaning towards PSG. Even I voted for PSG, but I do think it's a fair point to say that Aston Villa have a decent chance only because PSG बहुत like kind of just preparations उनके चालू. And let me remind you before this is not the only final they are playing. After this they'll be playing the Trophée des Champions against RC Lens, so in 3 days time after the UEFA Super Cup finals they have it all to play for. क्या लगता है आपको?
मेरे को जस्ट एक चीज बहुत क्विकली बोलनी थी.
बोल बोल.
I think this is the best if you look at the chances of a team winning a trophy this season. This is
Hmm.
Aston Villa's first chance to win a respectable silverware,
Yeah,
whereas PSG will get more chances. We obviously know League One and Coupe de France, trophies of champions. सब में they will, in fact, Champions League में भी PSG will go as favorites. Even though
I think
जो भी issues हैं उनके squad के साथ जो भी, but Villa के लिए मेरे
I think Shivam is frozen. हाँ, अभी आ गया शिवम, बोल.
हाँ बस मेरे को यही बोलना था कि that's the best chance for Villa to win something.
Fair. अजय भाई, आपको क्या लगता है? Do you agree with that sentiment? Because it does feel like there is some outside chance, or rather a chance for them to do something here.
सबसे पहले सभी को गुड इवनिंग to all of you. Good evening, and good to see Param in his new South Africa jersey. Good to see Shivam looking like an absolute Italian mafioso. एकदम ऐसा side partition and mustache. एकदम he can go to Palermo and they will adopt him as one of their own. You know. So good to see both of you. Good to see everyone in the chat. Yeah, I love these Super Cup games. It's always good to see like a winner of a cup competition go up against the other one. मेरे को सिर्फ एक ही इसमें ये था कि कॉन्फ्रेंस लीग विनर्स को भी इंक्लूड करो, मेक इट अ ट्रिपल थ्रेट मैच. मजा आता है, मजा आएगा.
I agree that that's what they need to do. Like, oh, Europa League versus Conference League का winner plays the
Yeah,
Champions
yeah,
League
yeah,
in
yeah.
the final.
Actually,
I'm
that would
very,
be
yeah.
that would be a lot of fun. And we would have seen a Premier League clash, Param. We would have seen Aston Villa versus Crystal Palace, and the winner decides. Winner stays on to play PSG. But
या फिर बिफोर यू गिव योर ओपिनियन, या फिर वो उडिनेजे का जो ट्राई टीम टूर्नामेंट हुआ था, उडिनेजे बारसा नॉटिंगहम फॉरेस्ट
that
45
is
मिनट्स वैसे
that
कर
is
दो ताकि उडिनेजे के जैसे क्लब्स को अच्छा चांस मिले
uh,
जीतने
that is the new Silvio Berlusconi trophy, man. I mean, that's Trofeo
का.
Berlusconi. That is the new
Oh
thing.
my god.
But coming back here, very interesting to see PSG. Like you said, मैं थोड़ा बहुत read up करा था. It is, Luis Enrique will play a lot of the youngsters. अब Zion Suzuki का भी deal हो चुका है. I don't know whether he will end up playing for PSG this season. Maybe they'll loan him out. But that's the way that PSG are looking at with Luis Enrique at the helm. And of course, they will be missing a lot of starters. I was one of the few people in minority who voted for Aston Villa, by the way, because I just feel that English clubs ka jo preparation rehta hai, that is way stronger at this point of time. Like all the English clubs in terms of how they prepare, it's very different to the other European clubs. They focus a lot on physical fitness rather than technical drills at this point of time. So आप देखोगे कि the players are much more sharper, they're much more leaner, they get rid of the holiday weight jo thoda, especially if you come to Spanish and Italian clubs samay lagta hai before, like it takes time for them to warm up and come into full potential. English clubs in terms of that aspect are already ready, which is why I feel that Aston Villa ka jo prep hai, despite losing the likes of Tillemans to United and Morgan Rogers to Chelsea, I still feel कि उनके पास में वो एक capability है to pull off an upset. And you saw when these two clubs played in the return fixture, Villa were, I think, like they were the better team in the second leg, and Donnarumma का heroics के कारण I think PSG won the tie eventually. So Villa definitely are not an easy team to play. So मेरे हिसाब से तो Unai Emery will have a small spring in the step, even though he will say that, and obviously, even the bookmakers will say that PSG are favorites, but don't underestimate this Villa. And जैसे तुम लोग ने mention किया कि Emery has not won, this particular trophy. He's a man. He's a serial winner, man. He wins trophies, and this is the perfect occasion for it. And I think this is going to be a good game. Like जो शिवम mention करा था कि ये Barca Sevilla, I think it's going to be like it'll start off maybe slow, but then I can see it hit a crescendo, and hopefully it's all out action. And I think for us fans, it's going to be a good treat and a good बोलते ना anti-pasty to the 2026-27 football season.
Hmm. We will, Preetham, I'll start your comment. So we'll go team wise in this preview, obviously, to basically just since we've given the early vibe, we'll just look at the teams transfers for
By the
both
way,
and then
the sound is working perfect today, na? Touch wood.
yeah, let's not jinx it. Let's दो stream में पता नहीं क्या glitch था भाई, but क्या हो
कुछ
रहा
तो
था.
दिक्कत आ
So
रहा है.
I'm just glad Shivam has brought some good luck over here. So let's not even talk about it going forward. But
Hopefully,
we'll start with we'll
hopefully
go club wise.
Shivam brings good luck for one club in Jero Air also this year.
आपका
वो
आपका
वो
अकेडमी का kid क्या कर रहा है? तो भाई
वो अपने क्लब पे वो बना ले बिकॉज ऑब्वियसली उधर उसको उसका ट्रांसफर मार्केट चालू करना है वो अलग चीज है बट
इसीलिए क्या कर रहा है? फर्स्ट एंड मोस्ट
basically
इम्पोर्टेंट
let's not even get into that. Guys, I would absolutely say do not search what Pizili is
Learned,
doing.
learned from the best.
but we'll go club wise, and then we'll get into the key battles and predictions and all that. Let's start with PSG, obviously, since they're the Champions League winners and everything. ट्रांसफर्स पे आते शिवम जस्ट वेरी बेसिक अपन जानते वो लोग ने ऑब्वियसली ज्यादा इधर आउटगोइंग में किया है फिलहाल पीएसजी ने वी सीन सम नोटेबल डिपार्चर्स ऑब्वियसली विद Colomwani was never part of PSG's plans, but he's left for 45 million. You obviously had Kangyan Lee, which was the biggest kind of talking point. He's gone. Um, Gonzalo Ramos, obviously, what a sale. I mean, I still cannot believe it. AC Milan shelled out 74 million. But for me, either the changes, if you see, and the incoming players, ठीक है चलो अभी भी incoming वो लोग का I know they are in talks with Mika Gods, अभी भी वो चल रहा है. Ferran Torres का just finalize हो जाएगा ऐसा लग रहा है. But until then, they've signed Lucas Digne. He's been registered for tomorrow for day after's final. Akliush भी है, obviously ये भी है, and we'll come to that. Point is, they're more and more leaning towards fully embracing Enrique's approach because we know he likes his obviously versatile players in attack especially. And Ferran आया तो वो तो और solidify हो जाएगा. You're moving away from a kind of a natural line like Gonzalo Ramos, and then you've gotten in Magnus Aklius जो इंटीरियर भी अच्छा खेल लेता है and वाइड पे भी improve हुआ लास्ट सीजन बहुत and press resistant है. तेरे को क्या लग रहा है कि बिकॉज देख यार दो यूरोपियन कप बोलो दो चैंपियंस लीग बैक टू बैक अभी हो गया. इट इज नाउ अबाउट further establishing their dominance and also doing it in the way they want to consistently. What do you think of this business? Are you like from an objective standpoint तुझे लगता है this is the way they should be going because Luis Enrique knows what he's doing. At the end of the day, he's won 2 back-to-back Champions League, and जो वो बोल रहा है just go all in because Campos is also doing, Campos के भी signings finally work out कर रहे हैं. What are you thinking of this aligned vision? Is it going to give them that dominance they're aiming for, and especially for this final?
I think I have a couple of takes for PSG. मेरे हिसाब से vision is very good कि
Hmm.
manager and sporting director are in sync because जब आप माइक्रो लेवल पे चीजें अच्छी करते हो तो मैक्रो लेवल पे चीजें बहुत अच्छी हो जाती है.
Hmm.
There are a few concerns, however, in my mind. I have a very unpopular take. People might not like it, but Luis Enrique overthinks more than Pep Guardiola, and I've seen this in Barcelona's third season. Yeah, I just want to say anyone here just go and check out 2016 season. Luis Enrique was like literally doing random shit. Like he was
Yeah.
playing Neymar wing back, he was playing Messi stadium, he was starting Jordi Alba as winger. मतलब because Luis Enrique has himself said कि I like the philosophy कि मेरे स्क्वाड में जितने प्लेयर्स हैं वो सारी पोजीशंस खेलता है. तो जो आप पोजिशनल फुटबॉल एंड वो क्रोएशियन फिलोसफी का जो फाइनल पॉइंट होता है ना कि ऑल प्लेयर्स प्ले एट ऑल द पोजीशन, that is basically Luis Enrique, जो Pep का भी हम देखते हैं, that is his aim. Now
Correct.
in that process what happens कि Enrique overthinks a lot. There were a lot of games in his final season at Barcelona where he just lost fairly because कि उसने बहुत overthink कर दिया, players को समझ में नहीं आया, कुछ इंस्ट्रक्शन 3-3-1-3 वो खिलाने लगा था, all sort of things like that. मेरे को ऐसा लगता है कि जो तीसरा साल होता है किसी भी टीम का ड्यूरिंग द प्रोजेक्ट विच टू बिल्ड इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट ईयर, जहाँ पे आपका स्क्वाड सबसे ज्यादा स्ट्रांग होता है और अपनी पीक पार पे होता है। आप चाहे
Hmm.
बार्सिलोना का ले लो ड्यूरिंग पेप गार्डियोला के टाइम, एनरिके के टाइम में जो बारसा ने ट्रेबल जीता था दैट वाज 1 ईयर अर्लियर। बारसा का जो बेस्ट पीरियड था वो 15-16 एमएसएन वाला था, दैट वाज द पीक एमएसएन जिसमें एटलेटिको से बाहर थे।
Yeah.
उसके अलावा अगर आपको सिटी का देखना है तो सिटी ऑल्सो वन इन थर्ड ईयर, जब उन्होंने फाबियन डेल्फ एंड योर ऑटामेंडीज एंड सबको निकाला, फिर तीसरे साल में थे फाइनली वन चैंपियंस लीग।
Yeah.
थ्रू आउट द हिस्ट्री आपके पास काफी एग्जांपल्स हैं, एंड दिस इज व्हाई मेरे को लगता है कि इस साल आर्सेनल सबसे टफ होगी यूरोप में बीट करने के लिए। Now
Yeah.
coming to PSG, they have won back-to-back Champions League. So what is their objective? Their objective is, I think, to refresh the squad, and it starts right from the back line. I think we all know कि Enrique का goalkeeper talent ID में there is a little bit issues.
Yeah.
This will be a very weird deal अगर Juventus पे लोन पे चला जाएगा सुजुकी साइन होने के बाद. So we
Yeah.
have to see वहाँ पे क्या होता है. Marquinhos का backup is Zabarni. Has Zabarni impressed a lot? अभी तक we don't have any answer. We don't have any backup option for William Pacho. We have to keep in mind कि Pacho
Yeah.
की fitness was one of the big reasons why PSG did so well, क्योंकि उसने
Yeah.
बैकलाइन को ऐसे संभाला था and he played
Yeah.
pretty well.
वही. Yeah.
आई थिंक मिडफील्ड में दे गॉट बेराल्डो को उन्होंने एनरिके कन्वर्ट करेगा फुली स्टेडियम के रूप में, मे बी वहां पे उसका बेस्ट निकल गया। फॉरवर्ड लाइन में उन्होंने ऑब्वियसली अटैक में एडजस्टमेंट की। मेरे को लग रहा है कि जो फॉरवर्ड लाइन में जो प्लेयर्स लाया है ना लुइस एनरिके,
Hmm.
these players are more suited to positional play because Enrique
Yeah.
likes a lot of ball possession। आप सर्कुलेट करते रहो, and जितना क्विकली सर्कुलेट करोगे, जितना क्विक आप मूवमेंट करोगे, आप वैसे
Hmm.
ब्लॉक ब्रेक करोगे। This is where someone like a Kangin Lee comes very handy. जो थोड़ा मोबाइल प्लेयर, he likes to dribble and drift a lot, and he can create that magic out of nowhere वाली जो थिंग है, जो
Hmm.
आपका टच एंड गो वाला प्लेयर है। मैं लास्ट सुपर कप में भी देखा था। आपने
Yeah.
उसको रिप्लेस किया एक पोजिशनल प्ले प्लेयर से इन समवन लाइक एन अक्लूस। How will it work out? That time will only tell. But I have a little doubts about PSG this season. I'll have to see as the season progresses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Considering this final, I think it will be a mixture of couple of experienced players and a couple of youth players. कल का जो
Hmm.
final होगा.
Yeah, and I agree. Before I come to Ajay Bhai and discuss Aston Villa, I agree kind of on the PSG bit because while जो alignment की बात कर रहा था, right, everything seems perfect, and I'm not just going to say for the sake of it, but मेरे को personally, yes, I don't see a lot of problems when it comes to the attack, especially when I see a talent like Akliush and all. Obviously, there will be moments where he will show inexperience and all, which is fair. Again, very young talent, but very high potential talent. But I do agree, like विलियन पाचो का जो फिटनेस था, एंड देन जबारनी प्री सीजन अगेन 2 games ओनली, व्हाट आई हैव सीन सो फार हैज बीन डिसेंट, राइट, हैज बीन डिसेंट। बट आई अग्री कि जब तुम डेप्थ की बात करो, बेराल्डो एक तो शिफ्ट हो रहा है मिडफील्ड में, वो भी वर्क इन प्रोग्रेस है। उसके नीचे अगर इफ यू सी द डेप्थ, या इट्स रियली it's very, yeah, you have to see that if it can really sustain for the whole season, now that they'll be playing so many competitions overall, if you really think about it, that is there. ठीक है, चलो Lucas Diña's signing is to cover up for Nuno Mendes after his injury also, so fair enough, that's a decent cover. Zion Suzuki, I would agree, like I don't understand why, even if he's competing with Chevalier, I say you cannot just loan him out. Like you have to have those two good goalkeepers that can make a difference, at least in my opinion. Ajay bhai,
मेरे
I'll
को तो
we
लगता है कि टर स्टेगन और क्लॉडियो ब्रावो वाला टाइप करेगा। ही विल कीप रोटेटिंग गोलकीपर्स आल्सो, जैसा उसने किया था। ही ओवरथिंक्स अ लॉट। अजय भाई से अच्छा
yeah,
कौन जानेगा कि मतलब
yeah.
he was there in AS Roma।
Funnily enough, the goat Renato Sanchez is back in the squad. If you've forgotten about him, he's back from his loan spell at Panathinaikos, if I'm not wrong. So,
His
uh,
latest loan spell, that is.
yeah, latest loan spell. And देखो उधर एक वो ब्रैडली बारकोला का भी सागा चल रहा है, दे वांट टू कीप हिम, बट देन दे आर आल्सो स्टिल नॉट अगेन entirely against selling him. It's a whole different saga that is going on, so that also remains to be seen. And I kind of agree कि ये जो latter part में जब लुइस एनरिके आता है, and then that's when he kind of starts this overthinking process. But अजय भाई, मैं आप पे आता हूँ, एस्टन विला की बात करते हैं। एस्टन विला का एक अलग चीज था, वेरिन यू नो दैट प्रीमियर लीग क्लब्स कैन स्पेंड दीज डेज एंड एवरीथिंग, राइट? Arman, thanks for the donation. I'll just come to your comment. Just give me a second. I will just get Aston Villa's transfer business out of the way. There with Aston Villa, this is no strange territory. PSR sustainability rules सब आ जाते हैं in question. Obviously, we know this, but obviously जैसे एक्सपेक्टेड था जब आप प्रीमियर लीग हो, प्रीमियर लीग क्लब हो, जनरली यू हैव थिंग्स in control unless you're a Leicester City. That's how badly you're managed. But point being, they sold Morgan Rogers, obviously big sale, 117 million pounds. Yuri Tielemans release clause activate हो गया, वो भी चला गया, but still needed sales. But then you see who they got in Manjambi. Like Manjambi it was not just about Manjambi's World Cup, right? Manjambi for Freiburg also, Shivam was fantastic. Like there was always a talent you had to watch out for. And the way he rejected Newcastle for Aston Villa was also quite something. Obviously, you can question the Garnacho signing, जो भी है वो है. I mean, they've still gotten in Joao Gomez from Wolves, decent signing, I would say. But overall, Ajay, bhai, navigating PSR and everything, Emery having to stay on, Emi Martinez is staying on. Again, we have to see if he'll play this final because apparently he's just come back or he's just coming back from his whole saga and whatnot. Yes, the squad is a bit thin. McGinn is not available. But overall, I was just telling Shivam, so far, if you just go through their preseason results, right, they've lost to Bayern Munich their last game in the Audi Cup final. They beat Pathum United. They've lost to Real Sociedad. They've lost to Porto. They've beaten Walsall. But at least they've gotten those many games in. While I agree with Preetham कि थोड़ा स्क्वाड थी ने, ओवरऑल आपको क्या ट्रांसफर वाइज अगर मैं देखूं, आपको कैसे लग रहा है स्क्वाड के बारे में, लाइक ओवरऑल what are you making of this? Like this Aston Villa, given the way Emery wants to play, like this 4-4-2, kind of off the ball, which really needs that proper attention while compact pressing. क्या लगता है आपको?
यार मेरे को तो आई थिंक मॉर्गन रॉजर्स लूजिंग हिम विल बी अ बिग डेंट बिकॉज वो उनका एक्स फैक्टर था. आई नो कि ओली वॉटकिंस is their primary threat in terms of goal scoring and being the focal point and everything. But Morgan Rogers को lose करना, I think it's more of a loss for Villa than a gain for Chelsea per se, because I really feel that Unai Emery got the best out of Morgan Rogers. In terms of potential, you see a lot of these English wonder kids not get to their potential. And Unai Emery एक astute coach है जो he gave that free role. तो इसलिए Morgan Rogers कोई एक fixed position में नहीं खेलता. He used to pop up on the left,
Yeah,
through the
yeah.
middle, and he linked up so well in terms of getting the transitions from defense to attack going superb. A very very mobile player and perfect for Emery's system. So I think he is a huge loss, uh, which is what is interesting. Ki long run mein, how does Emery cope up with that loss? And yeah, honestly, Garnacho ka hit and miss hai, but I think the right manager is what he needs. I think Emery is that guy. जो उसको थोड़ा बहुत he can shield him from his inner demons, so to say. He's got it. Emery has got the experience of managing talent like this. तो मेरे हिसाब से यार विला का, like I said, Villa come into the game as underdogs for sure. PSG are overwhelming favorites, and like I said, कि उनके results might not be that great, but pre-season just counts for just for getting that momentum, getting the minutes in the legs, like you mentioned. They played a lot of games, so that really helps when it comes to a competitive fixture. So I still feel that the fans, coming back to your original question, fans will be a bit disappointed in the way that this transfer market has gone for Villa. But again, market अभी मतलब बहुत दिन बाकी है एंड प्रीमियर लीग क्लब्स के पास में यार unlimited पैसा है. So even if they keep the PSR one side, I still feel that Aston Villa are just a couple of signings away, from making it back into the top 5, top 6 conversation easily.
So I want to say one thing though, like which is a fair point. One thing I need to remind you guys is that Amadou Onana obviously बहुत बड़ी injury से बाहर है, and that obviously going into the season in that sense, मेरे लिए अगर आप उस squad में void देखो कहीं which I'll show the squad in a bit, is midfield. Like yes, they signed Joao Gomez. Yes, they have Boubacar Kamara, but again, Boubacar Kamara just came back from his own knee injury in the first place. So, and he's just playing in the last 2 preseason games. Matlab, for the UEFA Super Cup final, you have a very untested pivot, like kind of जो हम PSG के बारे में बोल रहे कम खेला है. You have a really unprepared pivot overall. The heart of midfield is kind of sketchy in that sense. Matson चलो वो लेफ्ट बैक पे खेल लेगा because Digne is gone, but I feel you have to एक तो these guys are in talks with Matteo Ruggeri, which is insane. वो अलग ही मतलब if you know Ruggeri, you know this guy is insane. Like I'm just glad he does
What
not.
is happening with all these Italian players? Like, are they really that thirsty or something? I don't know, man.
क्या ये लोग का
How-
अलग ही है मतलब वो एक तो क्या मेरे पास कुछ शब्द ही नहीं है लेट इट बी लाइक मेरे पास रुजैरी को बोलने के लिए कुछ शब्द नहीं है ऑब्वियसली एक और चीज है कि एक और चीज ये है कि Tammy Abraham up top is still recovering from his he had a shoulder injury if I'm not wrong and Ollie Watkins is still not 100% so he might not start but अगर मैं उनका last game पे जाऊँ which was against Bayern Munich in the Audi Cup they had a front two of Evan and Gesan Shivam and Majo who's the Luxembourg striker is 17-year-old so they might again this game might feature a lot of young talent only because not just PSG we spoke of Aston Villa overall also Ajay I have to preserve this team heading into the first game which is away to Brighton which I think they have a friendly match before that if I'm not wrong I forgot against whom point being overall even Aston Villa are riddled with injuries they also still need to figure their squad out if Evan and Gesan के Crystal Palace के rumors आ रहे I think तो वो भी चला जाएगा so then you're thinning out your squad even more uh, I did read that Bogard जो है उनके midfield में might start Lamar Bogard but then apart from that yeah you still have a Tyrone Mings we'll come to the lineups we'll come to all of that but overall I think all of us have essentially summed it up that both squads even with the transfer mercato that is going on are quite thin and are still building to what is needed you can rightly say PSG have far more depth because essentially PSG मैं squad columns दिखाऊंगा पूरा squad बुला है whereas Aston Villa have a few injuries and whatnot I think next we can just quickly move on to Ajay. Sorry, Shivam. I'll come back to you with PSG. I'll just take Arman's comments. Thank you for donating. Ek to Arman, we appreciate it. Chevalier is the type of keeper I would love in the team, but sadly we are stuck with Lord Radechki and Lord Philip Cohn. Fair enough. He's a Monaco fan, and I can completely understand your assessment on that, especially on Radechki. He's very, very overrated. I'm sorry. But Shivam, ये तो answer कर ले because I'll time the PSG discussion after this as well. Don't you think Luis Enrique has evolved in terms of tactics? I mean, yeah, he overthinks, but if you observe him last season, he didn't make so many changes, and also his record against Premier League teams is too good. क्या thoughts है इस पे?
I think Enrique has definitely evolved his tactics. Basically,
Yeah.
आप जो अभी PSG देख रहे हो, that is something which he envisioned with his Barca. आप
Hmm.
बार्सिलोना में जब एनरिके का टाइम एक्चुअली मुझे बारसा नहीं बोलना चाहिए आप रोमा के बाद बिकॉज रोमा में ही हैड अ हॉरिबल स्पेल लुइस एनरिके ही देन केम बैक ही रिफ्रेश्ड एंड एनरिके सेल्टा विगो वाज वन ऑफ द मोस्ट एक्साइटिंग टीम्स
Yeah.
टू वॉच इन ला लीगा वहां से उसका इवॉल्व हुआ एंड देन ही टुक दैट गेम टू अ नेक्स्ट लेवल इन बारसा एंड जो what he wanted to do वो इवेंचुअली नहीं हो पाया बिकॉज ऑफ डिफरेंट रीजन ही ऑब्वियसली लेफ्ट बहुत सारी चीजें हुई क्या मैं उसमें नहीं जाऊंगा आप वो चीज आप पीएसजी में देख रहे हो बिकॉज पीएसजी में उसके पास वो अभी सुपरस्टार नहीं ही कैन मोल्ड द प्लेयर्स इन द वे in which he wants. He can completely automate these plays. So definitely he has evolved in tactics. Regarding the overthinking point, yes, I think जब बहुत ही weird decision, I know आपने चैंपियंस लीग में अभी तक ऐसे नहीं देखे हैं, but trust me, I have seen like Messi starting at stadium in an important Copa del Rey game, Neymar starting as wing back in a UCL knockout game. He does all these things. अब
Yeah.
आपको वो पीएसजी अभी लीग में कर रही है मेरा एक जो सबसे बड़ा कंसर्न है ना जो लास्ट सीजन मुझे पीएसजी का एक बहुत बड़ा फ्लॉ लगा था दे कांट ब्रेक लो ब्लॉक्स अगर क्वारात्सखेलिया का गेम अच्छा नहीं हो रहा है
Yeah.
क्वारात्सखेलिया वाज सिंगल बिगेस्ट गेम चेंजर जो अपनी ड्रिबलिंग से लो ब्लॉक तोड़ रहा था आई
Hmm.
वांट टू सी डिफरेंट सॉल्यूशंस ऑन हाउ टू ब्रेक अ लो ब्लॉक बिकॉज अगर आप बारकोला देख रहे हो ना बारकोला चला जाएगा तो आपके पास वर्टिकल प्लेयर्स नहीं होंगे बारकोला यूज टू प्रोवाइड अ लॉट ऑफ वर्टिकलिटी टू देयर अटैक so you
Hmm.
have a player like a Desiree Doué. Now I don't know Desiree Doué का output last season कम हुआ था previous season से because of midfield में खेला था. So is Enrique trying to morph him completely into a midfield role? That means आप अपने attack से एक और X factor कम कर रहे हो. So
Yeah.
these are couple of questions which I think जो हमें over the course of period में answer पता चलेगा. And मैं हर चीज this is a very common चीज but I'll still say beware of counter attacks. Enrique's teams are susceptible to counter
Yeah.
attack.
Yeah.
गर्नाचो के रनर को बॉल मिल गई वो काउंटर पे भागेगा एंड वहीं पे सबसे ज्यादा खतरा हो सकता है पीएसजी को
Yeah, fair. I agree on that. Also एक चीज मैं बोलना चाहता हूँ before we further get into PSG and then come to Aston Villa. Let's get into rather I would say how these teams I would say how they play or something like that because we'll be looking at the predicted lineups. We'll be looking at the key battles that that come in. जैसे तूने एक चीज बोला, मैं जो actually I was going to bring up and you was rightly said, Ajay bhai, is शिवम ने जो बोला is low blocks is many games in the league and last season they actually had a tough time, but then एक पॉइंट पे वही जो था कि क्वारेट्स खेले की जो क्वालिटी थी, the way he broke down games and he kind of opened up defenses in the games where you could have, because we need to remember there was a point where RC Lons were on top of the league and for a bit, and rightly so, and then obviously the quality gap is a tad bit too much for a club like RC Lons to keep up, understandably so, but there is that element, Shivam, ki ये लोग लो ब्लॉक्स के अगेंस्ट स्ट्रगल करते हैं, एंड देन when you really think about it, the fact that ये लोग have decided to completely move away from a proper nine. Again, I'm not trying to say Gonzalo Ramos was the solution. I don't rate him personally, but point is, I somewhere feel, somewhere again, they could have tried to sign another nine, but again, I get it, it's not as part of Enrique's philosophy, but if we were to strictly speak tactically, obviously अगर हम बात करें शिवम, तेरा एक्सपेक्टेशन क्या है फर्दर इस चेंज में कि लोग टैक्टिकल सेटअप कैसे करेंगे, नॉट जस्ट फॉर द फाइनल बट हेडिंग इनटू द सीजन? आई विल गिव इन माय 2 cents, बट आई वांट यू टू स्टार्ट फर्स्ट.
मेरे को फर्स्टली है कि हाउ विल दे कोप अप विद द लॉस ऑफ ली कांगिन. ली कांगिन यूज्ड टू प्रोवाइड अ वेरी डिफरेंट डिमेंशन टू देयर अटैक. बहुत ही
या
यूनिक 1v1 ड्रिबलिंग में जो अगर आप मतलब देयर इज अ चार्ट, आई डोंट वांट टू ब्रिंग स्टैट्स, बट आप यूरोप की टॉप 5 लीग में पेनल्टी में एक असिस्ट देखोगे ना, जो असिस्ट के पहले जो पिर्लो बेसिकली नहीं, आई एम नॉट सेइंग कांगिन इज पिर्लो लेवल है, यूए फैन मेरे पीछे आ जाए, बट पिर्लो की एक हैबिट थी ना कि वो प्री असिस्ट बहुत देता था. कांगिन ली का वो काम था, ही यूज्ड टू प्रोवाइड क्रिएटिव सॉल्यूशंस ऑन द पिच. वो ऐसे एरियाज में बॉल डालता था जहां से असिस्ट की प्रोबेबिलिटी काफी ज्यादा. मेरे को देखना है वो कैसे रिप्लेस करेंगे वो लोग, बिकॉज अरमान वाज देयर इन अटैक एंड इनकी मोनाको तो बोगी टीम है पीएसजी की. कितना भी अच्छा खेल रही हो पीएसजी, मोनाको से उनको स्ट्रगल करना है. चैंपियंस लीग भी स्ट्रगल किया था. तो देयर वाज अ वेरी कॉशियस टैक्टिक लास्ट सीजन लीग वन में कि टीम्स बहुत डीप बैठ रही थी एंड रनर्स रख रहे थे एंड वो वाइड जाके भाग रहे थे, को मयूलू खेल रहा है, जो भी खेल रहा है.
यस
दैट इज वन थिंग. सेकंड थिंग इज कि क्वारट्स के लिए और पांचों की फिटनेस कैसे है, बिकॉज दे हैव प्लेड अ लॉट ऑफ फुटबॉल नाउ. तो
यस
उनको
यस
कैसे एनरिके मैनेज करेगा. एंड इफ समवन लाइक अ गॉड्स कम, बिकॉज ही इज कमिंग
या
फ्रॉम अ नॉट सो क्वालिटी लीग एट दिस पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम, एंड वो बारकोला को कैसे रिप्लेस कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज वो वर्टिकल एस्पेक्ट अभी उनके पास नहीं रहेगा. मुझे लग रहा है शायद वो लिवरपूल चला जाएगा. तो
या
दीज आर कपल ऑफ थिंग्स जो मैं देखना चाहता हूँ पीएसजी कैसे करती है. एंड आई एम इंटरेस्टेड इन सीइंग कि हाउ बेराल्डो डेवलप्स इनटू अ सीडीएम. मेरे को लग रहा है वो
या
प्रॉपर सीडीएम.
फेयर रिंक. हाँ, फेयर. बिफोर आई कम टू यू अजय ऑन एस्टन विला, आई काइंड ऑफ अग्री कि यार एक तो एनरिके अपना, आई फील पर्सनली ही विल काइंड ऑफ कंटिन्यू टू बिल्ड अप इन दैट 3-4-2-1 kind of structure which he focuses on, and obviously I know Hakimi will kind of continue to overlap in that system and whatnot. I think उसका वही मेन एलिमेंट है जो शिवम ने बोला कि your striker will continue to somewhat drop deep, your wingers will continue to be the focal point, but अजय भाई वही एक चीज है, if you do sell someone like a Barcola, you are losing a tad bit of the direct element because Quarats Kelia then is the only one. Look, Desiree Doué is better as like that support striker in that half space along with Dembele, and we know how PSG work. जैसे ही ball lose होता है, you see their kick-off tactic also. What do? They kick the ball outside and then they press high with 5 attackers. That's what they love to press with 5 attackers, and they have. It's a risk they're willing to take. As Shams said, maybe transition defense में नहीं होता, but it's a risk they're willing to take because of the quality they possess. They have your press assistant midfielders in Vitinha and Joao Gomez का जो pairing है वो obviously अच्छे से काम कर जाता है, but overall I I just feel there is a set pattern at this point, which before you joined, me and Shivam were speaking of, and they're just kind of looking to bolster it as much as possible. You continue to overload with those 5 attackers, central lane, so that essentially अगर आपको 1v1 situation में wingers को डालना है, Quarats के लिए आ जाए. Even in Napoli days, we used to see this guy take on players and just beat them. Yes, Serie A में वो अलग चीज थी कि तुम 2-3 defenders डाल देते and he could be stopped. I remember so many times even against Inter when he played, and not just Inter, other teams used to be stopped. But then yeah, so far obviously in even he's elevated in quality, he's taken that leap and he's become so much more complete. It remains to be seen what Akliush does, in my opinion, on the right side, because that talent is quite there, and I feel the way he's improved Shivam playing out wide in comparison to previous years, even from his youth days, is tremendous. And वो बंदा interiors में भी अच्छा खेल लेता है. So I feel even if Barcola goes, it's a fair question, but I feel if locking down kind of Akliush was basically the big thing here to kind of cope with that. Ajay bhai, let's come to Aston Villa and their approach, because we know how Unai Emery goes about things. उसका एक चीज है कि off the ball, you see it is that structured kind of 4-4-2 intense kind of press. But now, either a main argument बोल सकते हैं, while Amadou Onana was not the same player with, and even at the World Cup we saw like him not having the greatest of World Cups overall. But yeah, somewhere he is a miss, right? Because जो मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ, कल का फाइनल छोड़ो, but there's just so many injuries. The midfield currently is thin. You have a Joao Gomez who's been just signed from Wolves, उसको भी अडेप्ट होना बाकी है. अभी भी मिडफील्ड में वो लोग जो पालिनिया से लिंक्ड है बायर्न से. ऑब्वियसली यू कैन क्वेश्चन पालिनिया ओवरऑल है बिकॉज ही इज अ बिट रेकलेस. बट क्या आपको आपको क्या लग रहा है, हाउ डू यू सी एस्टन विला काइंड ऑफ सेटिंग अप नॉट जस्ट फॉर द फाइनल, बट आपको क्या लग रहा है कि टैक्टिकली एस्टन विला गोइंग फॉरवर्ड फॉर द प्रीमियर लीग सीजन, व्हाट डू दे हैव टू ऑफर इन योर ओपिनियन?
I think Premier League में तो I feel that they need to firstly get the likes of Watkins and McGinn back fit and running. I feel कि उनका they need to do some signings quite urgently because जिस तरीके से Premier League competitive है in terms of those European places, one bad patch and Villa will be like already catching up to the likes of a Spurs, Chelsea, Brighton maybe. So they need to, like I said, they need to replace Morgan Rogers. Big loss for them. बहुत ही बड़ा एक hole रहेगा, and Tillemans as well. And losing Tillemans and Onana and Morgan Rogers, who were probably the heart and soul of that midfield, I think that's going to be a huge loss. And remember, they have Champions League football, so they will be in 4 competitions like midweek European nights. So Villa need to really make those moves very quickly. I was just looking at the predicted lineups and I saw Tammy Abraham.
Yeah, which is crazy. Which means obviously उसकी shoulder injury एक तो पूरी, from what I read last, which was a few hours ago, it still remains to be seen. But sorry, go ahead. We'll come to the predicted lineups. But
तो मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि इस गेम में Villa are definitely second favorites, and I think the way that they will look to play this particular game is to sit back, absorb pressure, and look for those moments where they can use their pace in the counter, the likes of a Garnacho and even Buendia, the way that he carries the ball. I think those are the moments that Emery will definitely look out for. Otherwise, I don't see them taking the game to PSG because that would mean curtains. Because just तरीके से PSG आती है. And just मेरे को एक और point ये करना था कि क्वारात्स्केलिया के बारे में बंदा तो नापोली में was very one dimensional. Let me be very brutally honest. I don't think so it's a right A, but he had that one trick on the left, but now I see him plays out wide on the right. He can carry the ball to the middle, beat beat the opposing defender on 1v1 so easily. मतलब वही जो elevation जो तूने बोला कि the way that he has elevated his game, it is mind-boggling to see. So I think primarily for Unai Emery, the goal will be to cut down the supply and to stop Kvaratskhelia, because a lot of reliance on PSG's attack will be on Kvaratskelia's shoulders, given the fact that Ousmane Dembele is not there, and the likes of a Mayolu or other, I would say, not like just a subtle way of saying it, junior players, not your first team regulars. सारा जो pressure है Kvaratskhelia पे आएगा. So I expect a compact setup. I expect him to be defensive. I expect him to put 2 men behind Kvaratskhelia so that वो supply रुक जाए, and they will try to find their moments in which they can counter and surprise PSG. Proper sting in the tail. I think that's how Aston Villa are going to play.
Fair, and I think just to add my 2 cents, I kind of agree because pre-season में जो मैं उनका पढ़ रहा था, and I saw a bit of what the fans were saying as well. Like it is quite obvious, like वो जो 4-4-2 उन्होंने setup किया था, it was the best way to go. Like you had one positive was against Bayern Munich. I managed to catch a bit of that game. Joao Gomez had a good game there against Bayern. It was a close game. Buendia looked all right as well in that. Only thing कि मेरे main question वही था कि the attack, like as you said, Tammy Abraham might play. Ollie Watkins शायद bench से आएगा, जो भी है. The only assured thing about them overall was that backline, because उनके तुम्हारे familiar faces were there. You had a Matson, you had a Pau Torres, you had a Lindelof, you had a Matty Cash playing. Bizot in goal was actually decent. So even if Emi Martinez, which I don't think, again, I honestly don't think Emi Martinez will start even in this. Overall, that way, you could see something at some structure, but then एक और चीज है ना अजय भाई, कि जैसे आप बोल रहे थे उसको जो वो compact 4-4-2 with a proper coordinated press खिलाना है, for that the question is the team ready to tackle that against PSG? It seems a bit tough to me. Even you have to remember, even Manzambi has not had a preseason with Aston Villa, like match time के हिसाब से वो तो बायर्न के अगेंस्ट स्क्वाड में भी नहीं था basically. So then can you even throw him onto the, can you even get him off the bench? Maybe you can, but then it's a big
Doubtful
ask
है.
for,
Both
it's a big
Manzabi
ask.
and Bailey are doubtful.
Exactly. And then you see the rest of the bench is a lot of youth players basically. If I'm not wrong, Bayern के against barely कोई bench था. Bench पे जैसे मतलब बोगार्ड था, टायरोन मिंग्स था, इब्राहिम था amongst the senior teams, and I think it was Nedeljkovic. That's it. Otherwise it was all stacked with kids basically. So एक वो भी doubt आ जाता है. But Shivam, like, sorry Ajay, I'll sorry come back to you and then we'll get into the predicted lineups and key battles and wrap this up with the comments. Guys, keep your comments coming in. I want you guys to discuss about this match as well. Do you agree with Shivam in what he said about PSG? You can hurt them on defense, but then when you see Aston Villa's, which I kind of agree with, कि Aston Villa वही aim करेगा, but then when you see Aston Villa's options, you have a Garnacho who will try to run in behind, but you know Garnacho is very 50-50 when he shows up, when he doesn't show up, it's very unpredictable basis his mood. John McGinn is a big miss for me. Like that main work ethic down that right flank is completely gone. But still, you'll have Matty Cash kind of trying to overlap. For you, do you think that's the main weapon, or do you see any other way you can kind of hurt this PSG team? Or what's your take on this?
Aerial balls, set pieces. If you have Tammy Abraham, uses height. I think जिस तरीके से like Villa can kind of use Garnacho to increase the width on the pitch. Essentially, just use Tammy's height and maybe get those crosses in. Beyond there, the dead ball is good. He's got quality to deliver good crosses through corners, yeah, set pieces. So I think that's the way, because मैं वही बोल रहा हूँ कि जिस तरीके से उनका भी इतने absentees है and probably the lack of signings है, Emery will have to go with plan B, which is this. Like I think जो हमने देखा, I think one of the best games that I watched was at Villa Park, Villa PSG. Literally, Villa took the game to PSG. Like that was a
Yeah.
lot of fun to watch. So I don't think so that's going to happen tomorrow night, but you will see a far more measured approach. But this is a good way. Like you test, you hold fort, you frustrate PSG, you try to use some physicality against them, rattle them. That's the way that Emery can and kind of like upset the apple cart. And he's a very smart cookie here, Unai Emery. Like I feel one of the most underappreciated managers in Europe, in European football. So उसको उतने flowers मिलते नहीं जितने उसको मिलने चाहिए मेरे हिसाब से. तो it would be like a great story if he can manage to pull off a victory and get a trophy. Like Shiva mentioned, probably the best chance for Villa to win a trophy this season. I think Emery will go with that intent to win it. That is the for sure. Right? He's got a great mentality, and he will definitely line up those players, with that mentality. कि भाई हमें जीतना ही है. So I expect Villa to be a little more resilient. But यही है Shivam and Param. If PSG manage to turn on the style, they can score goals quickly. How will Villa react to that? That would be a mystery, because do they have enough experience? Like you mentioned, like a McGinn who's a leader on the pitch. If they concede early goals, or even an early goal for that matter, who's that leader who puts his hand up and rallies the troops to come back into the game? That would be interesting to watch.
मेरे लिए दो चीज स्टेम होती है before we move into the key battles, and I'll start with Shivam on that. But before that, मेरे लिए दो चीज होती है मिडफील्ड में जो प्रॉब्लम है इनसे. एक है एक बिल्डअप फेज में, because I know like again like Matson will kind of tuck in and will have that role to kind of form a back three, but then where is the creative outlet? Like I know Buendia will have to again double up the work. Where like again for me, Manzambi was playing in this preseason from an Aston Villa perspective में थोड़ा और optimistic होता. But again, like that's a big miss, because Manzambi by himself, the verticality he offers and the link up play also he does, I think would have been very useful. Even if let's say someone like an Ollie Watkins ends up playing, like the way he drops deep and even that, but वो कुछ है ही नहीं. And Tammy Abraham, will he ever be 100%? That's one issue. My second issue is screening that backline overall, because I जैसे हम demanding जो बात करें ना जब I Aston Villa plays की जो the demand that will be needed against PSG, I feel it's a they do not have right now currently in terms of availability that profile to kind of just alone protect that backline for me. It's not enough. And while again we spoke of both the teams not having well, being in preseason mode, understandably so, I just feel overall na PSG ने कम games खेले होंगे, but overall they have that depth basically to kind of see through this match, if that is how I were to put it essentially. Like if they, if tomorrow, as Shivam said, Beraldo ka development is work in progress, but at least he's been playing there a while. That is there. Aston Villa ke case mein, you have a Boubacar Kamara coming back from injury, Joao Gomez, that pairing has just played together for the first time. How do you cope up with that? Basically questions like that. And I feel tomorrow's screen, not tomorrow, day after when the match happens, that screening is going to be a big problem. Obviously इनमें जो होगा वो होगा, but I really feel the two question marks that emerge are from Aston Villa's midfield more than anything else, because I still feel the attack is manageable. I think Tammy Abraham भी हुआ तो जैसे आपने बोला aerially it is manageable. He usually wins his aerial duels even if they have to somehow manage it other how. So for me, even I agree that's the main question. We have hashtag talks football in the chat as well, saying something. Villa replaced Dina with Estupinian and Ruggieri. Joao
हुआ
Gomez
नहीं ना
plus one.
अभी एस्टुपिनान हुआ था और एक ही आएगा, दोनों नहीं आएंगे।
या दोनों नहीं, अभी तक दोनों हुआ नहीं है ना, दोनों का तो टॉक्स पे ये चल रहा है ना। आई मीन ऑनेस्टली अगर
रुगेरी
एश में बोलूं तो बोथ आर नॉट रियली एनकरेजिंग ऑप्शंस फॉर
सबसे सबसे पहले as I hope you're doing well and
या
hope you're doing fine. Read a status on your Instagram, so sending you love
या
and prayers, brother. Just heal quickly, and
या
looking forward in because एक चीज तो होने ही वाला है, परम कुछ कुछ हो ना हो इस सीजन मैन यूनाइटेड और रोमा एक दूसरे को खेलने वाली है चैंपियंस लीग में, लिख के ले लो।
और अगर एक मिनट अगर फिर से 7-1 हुआ ना, तो शिवम अजय भाई के लिए एक स्पेशल पनिशमेंट में और पूरा पैनल रिजर्व करेंगे। अगर ऐसा कुछ हुआ ना भाई, तो मतलब अजय भाई को कुछ ना कुछ तो करना पड़ेगा जिससे देखते।
one one punishment was worth a lifetime, like in 2007. नहीं चाहिए मुझे, I don't know
नहीं
relive
नहीं
those
नहीं
things.
नहीं, बट ऑल दैट
यार
असाइड, या
मैं एकदम ही भूल गया। अजय भाई आपको तो याद होगा, सॉरी टू रिवाइंड, हु वाज दैट इडियोटिक गोलकीपर जब आप बायर्न म्यूनिख से पिटे थे? आई
It
रिमेंबर
was
ही हैड हॉरिबल गेम।
DeSantis.
ओह यस,
DeSantis,
डिसेंटेड।
Morgan DeSantis. How can you forget that guy, man?
But Shivam, that more than the goalkeeper, it was Robin who was just flying past Ashley Cole. Then
आई
I
नो।
thought,
Yeah.
भाई मतलब Ashley Cole ठीक है, रॉबिन है, फिर साला एक महीने में क्रिस्टियानो राइमोंडी उसको सेम जैसे रॉबिन जैसा खेला था। Ashley Cole भाई हो गया तेरा समय है,
Ashley
ISL
Cole
आ
का
जा।
for those who have forgotten, Ashley Cole is currently coaching in the Serie B. He's the head coach of Cesena, and he did the most Ashley Cole thing ever. With no offense, he managed to bottle the promotion playoffs. So I hope he does not screw up that beautiful club anymore. I hope he takes it. I hope he does a good job, because I'm tired of these random names as coaches coming into Italy and thinking they're good coaches for Italian clubs. So bus karo bhai. But all that aside, I agree. See, देखो, Joao Gomez, even I kind of rate Ash, but I just that we are talking about the settling period, right? He's just come in and to form that chemistry. And if you look at it from day after tomorrow's perspective, I just don't think that pivot of him and Kamara is ready, because Manzambi does not feel like he's going to play. Obviously, over the course, let's see. That's where I expect Aston Villa to kind of be better, because that's how an Emery team also builds up. And I agree with Rishi. Link
दूसरा हो
ट्विटर
गया।
पे डीएम, अच्छा आप मेरे को ट्विटर पे डीएम कर दोगे लिंक, तो आई कैन ओपन व्हाटएवर। पॉइंट है शिवम, तेरे से स्टार्ट करता हूँ। We'll come to the predicted lineups, but what for PSG? Is it simply as is it simply down to the quality difference for you, or is it what is that area you think PSG be targeting against Aston Villa to kind of really say, throughout the match, every time we kind of attack, or every that zone, particular zone or player we target, throughout the 90, it is convincing for us to kind of win the match and seal it. Basically, what is that area for you, or a player, whatever you feel is?
हाँ, तो फर्स्टली एमरी की जितनी भी टीम्स होती हैं, आई थिंक मिडफील्ड का पॉइंट बहुत अच्छे से आप दोनों ने एक्सप्लेन कर दिया। बट
Hmm.
दिस इज अ वेरी क्लियर पैटर्न इन एमरीज टीम्स की, एक उनको डिस्ट्रॉयर चाहिए होता है एंड एक प्रोग्रेसर चाहिए होता है। सेविया में भी ही हैड क्रिकोवियाक देन वो जब पीएसजी गए थे तो क्रिकोवियाट को साइन किया था उन्होंने पीएसजी के लिए एंड दैट साइन डिडंट वर्क आउट एंड वन ऑफ द बिग रीजंस व्हाई एमरी वाज सैक्ड बिकॉज मिडफील्ड नहीं थी उसके पास वो सीजन 2016 17 सीजन में बात कर रहा हूँ 16 17 की ही डिमांडेड अ सीडीएम बट उसको मिला नहीं था एंड वेराटी अकेले छूट गया था तो बहुत आउटरन होता था देन जनवरी में उसको लसाना डियारा लाके दिया था पीएसजी
Yes.
he even in Villarreal, he had the pivot of Etienne Capoue, Danny Parejo, and Trigueros. So you see, he has this similar pattern at every club he has been. Villa maybe he had Amadou Onana and Boubacar Kamara, very similar profiles. So Onana का loss is actually a big loss because Onana आपको progression और destroying ability दोनों provide करता था.
Yeah.
Joe Gomez is a very good carrier of the ball. मेरे हिसाब से ही developed his game. मैं personally बहुत rate नहीं करता था, but he has developed his game. Manzambi अगर fit हुआ, then this game becomes interesting because he is a very interesting player between the lines. He can cover a lot of ground. But as you have asked initially कि कौन सा एरिया है जहाँ पे टारगेट कर सकते हैं आई थिंक इट्स द फुल बैक्स आउट वाइड आई डोंट ट्रस्ट मार्टिन अ लॉट मेरे को नहीं वो मतलब मैंने बहुत ज्यादा देखा ही नहीं उस प्लेयर को कि मैं कुछ उस पर जजमेंट भी दे पाऊँ तो आई थिंक
Hmm.
पीएसजी के लिए तो क्लियर है कि आप वाइड से जाओ बिकॉज विला की दोनों लाइंस मेरे हिसाब से काफी डीप होंगी तो आप विंग्स से कितना ज्यादा एक्सप्लॉइट कर सकते हो दैट विल बी समथिंग विच इज इंटरेस्टिंग एंड जैसे ही एस्टन विला बॉल रिकवर करे देन इट विल बी द
Hmm.
रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ गोमेज कि आप लाइंस के बीच में कैसे प्रेस को बीट करके उसको ड्राइव करके अपने फॉरवर्ड्स तक पहुंचाओ अगर अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट एनी मार्टिनेज लॉन्ग बॉल एंड ऑल द थिंग्स guys are doing I don't know
Hmm.
who will play right back so is it Konsa
They are
I think
looking at Matty Cash filal, but yeah,
हाँ
because
क्लियर है
because
फुल बैक्स
yeah, because Konsa's also not had a preseason basically with Aston Villa. So
फुल बैक्स आर द कंसर्न देन
yeah, it is. Madsen left पे खेलेगा ना ऋषि because
Match and left
कौन
पे and Johnny Cash बोल रहा हूँ Matty Cash Johnny
hmm.
Cash
यार
But
एक्चुअली
yeah,
अगर ये जो फुल बैक्स हैं मैटी कैश एंड मैटसन आई नाउ आई गेट द पॉइंट वेयर दे आर साइनिंग रुजेरी इनसे तो बेटर है रुजेरी ओवरऑल भले उसका लेवल एक लिमिटेड प्लेयर जितना है बट यू सॉ हाउ सिमियोनी हैज डेवलप्ड हिम डिफेंसिवली जो उसकी परफॉर्मेंस थी इन द सेकंड लेग ऑफ सेकंड सेमीफाइनल सेकंड हाफ ऑफ द सेकंड लेग इन दैट सेमीफाइनल अगर वैसी परफॉर्मेंस रुजेरी देता है तब तो सही है अगर
yeah,
कोपा डेल रे वाली परफॉर्मेंस देता है रुजेरी
my God.
तो फिर तो it's done.
My God. Yeah,
So,
which Shivam, just to sum it up, what was that one aspect for you, just for the audience, if you had to sum it up very quickly, where PSG can really hurt Aston Villa? Fullbacks is one you
yeah,
said.
I think fullbacks is one area. और तो I don't या पीएसजी का इनफैक्ट इनरिके टीम्स का बहुत क्लियर पैटर्न है दे टेक अ लॉट ऑफ शॉट्स आउटसाइड द बॉक्स तो आप बहुत
Yeah,
बार देखोगे
yeah,
कि अपना एसजी ओवर परफॉर्म करती है दिस हैज
uh,
बीन हिज थिंग इन रोमा दिस हैज बीन हिज थिंग इन सेल्टा वीगो दिस हैज बीन हिज थिंग इन बार्सिलोना एंड वो
yes.
पीएसजी में भी है ही इनकरेजेस हिज टीम्स टू टेक अ लॉट ऑफ शॉट्स तो अगर आप डीप अच्छे डिफेंड कर ले रहे हो या अगर आप काउंटर्स में उनको हर्ट कर पाओ देन इट्स वेल एंड गुड बट अगर आपकी टीम में अच्छे शूटर्स हैं जैसे आई डोंट नो इफ फाबियान विल प्ले और नॉट
Hmm.
पीएसजी हैज गुड शूटर्स शूट अच्छा करते हैं देन आप एक रैंडम गोल आपका चला जाएगा आप एक्सजी कैलकुलेट करते रह जाओ तो मेरे हिसाब से वाइड प्लेयर्स एंड बी वेरी अटेंटिव ऑफ देयर शूटिंग एंड ट्राई टू हर्ट देम ऑन काउंटर्स एज मच एज पॉसिबल
Fair. Ajay, coming to Aston Villa, um, for you, what is that again? Whether rather, what is the key battle or area, whatever you feel, area or a player that Aston Villa from the PSG end should target? Because again, I'm pulling up the predicted lineups as we speak. I don't know why I'm resorting to Squawka to pull up the lineups. It's just sad, but I'm not getting anything else that is
proper
quite relevant.
proper pre-season vibes है for a
Yeah,
Morgan
it's just sad that I have to refer to Squawka. If you know, you know. Point being, these are the predicted lineups. Obviously, PSG के लिए Safanov बोल रहे गोल में. Bolly obviously at right back, Marquinhos, Pacho, Mendes, Mayulu, Vitinha, Neves, Mbaye, Ayari and Quaresca. And I would not be surprised with this 11 जो मैं बोल रहा था आपको. And by the way, I have to say, Mbaye and Ayari in preseason have been fantastic. By the way, although I need to check if Ayari has been called up because he was actually very good for PSG. I'll just check on that very quickly. But point being, Ajay bhai, Aston Villa का lineup देखो, Bizo, Matty Cash, Mings, Pau Torres, Matson, Hemmings, McGinn. McGinn is supposed to be injured, so I don't know what they've done to this predicted lineup. Joao
Who is
Gomez,
this
Buendia. Sorry.
Hemmings? Hemmings looks like a Somerset का fast bowler.
Buendia, Garnacho, and Maggio. Ajay bhai, I'll just check on John McGinn because they said he's definitively out. But point being, any what is that one area again? How do you think Aston Villa can go about this overall? Like, what do you target in this PSG team?
भाई मैं तो वही बोलूंगा कि go after the right hand side like I mentioned of PSG. वहां पे आप कुछ कर सकते हो. If you kind of like, if McGinn plays, then fair enough. Garnacho will have that pace, and otherwise it looks difficult here because ये इनका जो midfield है, PSG का midfield, I don't think so Villa will get the ball whatsoever. They will have to play in the counter and they will have to look at attacking the wide areas. Nuno Mendes का पता नहीं fitness level क्या है, तो वो भी एक area है जहाँ पे आप target कर सकते हो. But otherwise, Luis Enrique has PSG playing like irrespective of who the players are. I think the system is set in stone. बहुत ही बढ़िया system है PSG का. And कोई भी आप player को लेके आओ, उसको role पता है, उसको क्या करना है उसको. So that is how मतलब Luis Enrique has created this well-oiled machine आप बोल सकते हो. विला के लिए मैं वही बोला हूँ, मैं repeat कर रहा हूँ, but it is like a season of transition for them. The task is against them, Param. I think clearly second favorites in this tie. They will have to, rely on moments, big moments, and just hope and pray that they are still in the game. Like they will not get the ball for extended periods of time. They will just have to hope and pray कि उन लोग game में हैं to get something out of it. So yeah, it's going to be a tough ask here for Villa.
Also,
मुझे
yeah. So
लग रहा
just to हाँ बोलना
है
चाहिए बोल.
इसमें बस मुझे ये बहुत क्विकली इसमें मुझे लग रहा है कि बेराल्डो विल स्टार्ट एंड मयूलो विल प्ले फॉल्स नाइन. आई डोंट थिंक आयारी विल.
Mayulu should play false nine.
Yeah, I agree. And also again for PSG, जैसे मैंने बोला कि I should not have referred to Skoka because they're whatever they are because IRE has not been called up, which I was also thinking क्योंकि मैं जब earlier predicted lineups देख रहा था before the stream, when I saw their squad, IRE was not called up and he was one of the better players in pre-season. And I agree with Shivam कि अभी if IRE is not there, Mbai is there, so you can put Mayulu and you can shift thoda. But yeah, there is a bit of discrepancy in what Skoka have reported here. But yes, McGinn ka, I just checked. So basically, he trained with the team today. So that is why it is possible that he could feature. But then whether he's at 100% or not remains to be seen completely. We do not know yet. And also, if I'm not wrong, even Garnacho trained properly because he was also not up to speed fully. So essentially, there and thereabouts, these are the lineups. I would still think, obviously, someone like an IRE will not feature. Obviously, someone like a McGinn will also probably not feature. But apart from that, I think this is pretty much it. Guys, before I get to scoreline predictions and comments, maybe आप लोग बता सकते हो. Who do you think makes the difference tomorrow? Which player stands out and seals the match for their respective teams? If I were to start with you, Ajay, if I were to say, let's say PSG wins, who do you think? Or rather, forget it. Whoever you think wins, who is the difference maker tomorrow?
I think Kvicha Kvaratskhelia easily.
Fair. Shivam, what do you think?
हाँ मैं भी क्वारा ही एक्चुअली बोलने वाला था बट आई विल बी थोड़ा सा मुझे देखना है. मैंने विला का प्री सीजन नहीं देखा है. मैं मिड्स को बहुत सीरियसली नहीं देखता था. मुझे देखना है ये मार्जो जो बंदा है ये कैसा करता है बिकॉज ही इज अ वेरी फिजिकल गाय एंड
Yeah.
पीएसजी इज अ गुड एंड ही इज कमिंग फ्रॉम लीग वन तो ही हैज मतलब पता तो होगा ना उसको पीएसजी कैसे खेलती है वो एनवायरमेंट का
Yes,
आइडिया
yes,
होगा.
yes, yes, yes.
आई वांट टू सी दैट किड वो कैसा खेलता है.
That
डिफरेंस है ऑब्वियसली फॉर खेलिया एंड उधर से मैं जॉब होगी.
या दैट्स व्हाई आई वाज मैं वही बोल रहा था. मैं इसलिए जब मैं पहले बोल रहा था कि मैं एस्टन विला के अटैक के बारे में इतना रिलेटिवली वरीड नहीं हूं, नॉट टू से इट इन अ गुड वे, बट बिकॉज माजो में है वो काइंड ऑफ. तेरे को पता है जब लास्ट सीजन, बहुत रैंडम कंपैरिजन करूंगा बट ये शायद सेरिया वॉचर्स को ज्यादा पता होगा, जब पार्मा प्लेड नापोली एट होम एंड दे फील्डेड नेस्टा एल्फेज ऑब्वियसली, जिसने वो अगेंस्ट नापोली के अगेंस्ट 3 सेकंड में गोल मारा था ना पार्मा ने at home, and then obviously Napoli could only draw that match. That is exactly the profile I would say Maggio is. If you watch Nesta Elfich, thoda sa bhi, you'll basically is what Maggio is like. So that's I'm not really worried about him. But yeah, so you have also gone with Quarats के लिए and you're just keen to see Maggio. Ajay भाई, आप पे आते हैं स्कोर लाइन प्रेडिक्शंस क्या क्या लग रहा है who wins this and by what margin क्या लग रहा है comments भी
I
come
think
on guys you guys have to comment with the team name score line predictions
I think
और
PSG
दादा
wins this 2-0 or 3-1. I hope Villa do something though. मतलब मैंने वोट किया था Villa अपने IG वाले
I know
स्टोरी पे.
मिला के लिए
But but I think in all fairness, I think PSG wins this.
I want to say a Villa win, यार, but
wow सब लोग को विला पे दया आ रही है आज
It दया नहीं
yeah,
यार. I just think that
मतलब
for
what
neutrals, it would be a good watch.
yeah
If
fair I mean fair that it is what it is ऐसा कोई ये नहीं है but
what's the
what do you guys
status of Harry Antonio Jose? Is he anywhere closer to मतलब कहीं पे भी है वो आसपास? Because French
कौन
team है, तो पेनल्टीज पे तो फ्रेंच टीम के
अच्छा
अगेंस्ट
एमी मार्टिनेज अच्छा
say
वैसे वैसे I was just reading that this match is going to be refereed by the Somalian referee who was
yes was the
entry into the US. So kudos to
yes
UEFA for doing at least something
अरे
correct.
यूएफा अपना अपॉर्चुनिटी जहाँ दिख रहा है वो लोग आके ले रहे हैं इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट
ये भी कि मैं मानता हूँ चलो एक बार तो उन्होंने एक अच्छा अपॉर्चुनिटी ले लिया तो
नहीं yeah I mean it's smart play 2-1 PSG says Rishi other guys also I hope you guys comment but हाँ sorry अजय भाई आप बोल रहे थे स्कोर लाइन प्रेडिक्शन क्या है आपकी
मेरा
या
भी
या
2-1 PSG
2-1
टू
or 3 2-0 or 3-1
and
PSG.
Shivam sorry what did you say
2-1 to PSG आई थिंक वो मार सकती है विला इस गेम में गोल बट आई थिंक पीएसजी माइट इवेंचुअली निक टुवर्ड्स द
yeah I
अगर
agree
अगर ये स्पेशली
हाँ बोल
अगर ये बिजॉट ही गोलकीपर रहा ना इन पेनल्टीज पे भी अगर गया अगर पेनल्टीज पे भी जाता है एंड मैं मार्टिनेज नहीं अवेलेबल है तो भी मैं साफुन को बैक करूंगा ज्यादा इफ बिजॉट प्लेज
फिर मैं भी अग्री करता आई कैन नॉट इट्स डिफिकल्ट फॉर मी टू सी एनीथिंग बट अ पीएसजी विन मेरे को लग रहा है पीएसजी जीतेगा डोंट नो व्हाट द स्कोर लाइन मे बी 2-0 2-1 समथिंग लाइक दैट आई डोंट नो जस्ट फील कि हमने जो थीम इधर आज एस्टेब्लिश किया है इज वेरी प्री सीजन वेरी बोथ टीम्स बीइंग इन दिस प्री सीजन मोड राइटली सो both teams figuring out their market both teams figuring out their prep Aston Villa more than PSG obviously for obvious reasons and it just feels like दोनों टीम काइंड ऑफ जितना अपने प्लेयर्स को इंजरी से फर्दर बचा सकती है बिकॉज दोनों टीम्स को हुई है पीएसजी को नूनो मेंडिस जस्ट बड़ी इंजरी से मिला है एस्टन विला में ऑलरेडी अमाडू ओनाना जा चुका है एंड जस्ट प्लेयर्स इंजरी से आ रहे सो आई फील दिस इज वेरी प्री सीजन वाइब ओवरऑल एंड आई थिंक एनी आई डोंट सी एनी मोर कमेंट्स गाइस अगर कोई फाइनल कमेंट्स है तो ला लो otherwise we'll close the stream any closing thoughts Shivam Ajay bhai
Football is back. Very happy that football is back. You have the Super Cup, you have La Liga starting, you have the Community Shield, and then of course Premier League and Serie A and Bundesliga all starting League on as well. So happy football is coming back. Yeah, missed it, and of course can't wait for the UEFA Champions League anthem to ring around my house.
Shivam anything you want to say
नो आई एम एक्साइटेड एंड लेट्स सी क्या होता है कल गेम में
फेयर आई एग्री कि फुटबॉल सीजन तो ऑब्वियसली अगर पहली चीज मैं एक बोलना चाहता हूँ अगर आपने फॉर व्हाटएवर रीजन मिस किया है सेरिया इज बैक ऑन टीवी एंड हैज अ ब्रॉडकास्टर वेल इन टाइम फॉर अ चेंज जी स्पोर्ट्स पे होगा जी के
ये
ओटीटी पे होगा
कभी नहीं हुआ है यार कभी नहीं हुआ है कि मतलब शिवम 2 2.5 3 हफ्ते पहले ब्रॉडकास्टर का जो इशू है फिक्स हो लिटरली जिस दिन हमने रील डाला 24 घंटे के बाद में अपने को अनाउंसमेंट मिल गया नेवर इन
या
हिस्ट्री हैज इट हैपेंड कि भाई
एंड ऑब्वियसली टीवी चैनल्स पे यूनाइटेड स्पोर्ट्स पे है तो प्लीज डू सब्सक्राइब कर एंड ऑब्वियसली देयर इज
मतलब वही है इट्स ऑन टेलीविजन लाइक इट्स ऑन
या
मेन टेलीविजन सो
and please we will be obviously as we've told you we are our prior like I was telling Shivam the other day as well when we put out that post of kind of going big and trying to cover as much football because at the end of the day as much as we love Italian football we are football fans but our primary goal will always be to cover Italian football first and whatever else next so yes there will be a Serie A preview that will come yes there will be a we'll hope we are trying to do a La Liga preview with Shivam and one more person so fingers crossed for all that so far so good everything has worked out and guys obviously the main message is please do like, please do share, please do subscribe. Shivam is all over on Twitter as well, उसको भी ढूंढ सकते हो. जैसे मैं बोलता हूँ वो साउथ अमेरिकन फुटबॉल का एक्सपर्ट है, वो रिवर प्लेट का फैन है. थोड़े दिन खराब चल रहे रिवर प्लेट के, बट यू कैन शो हिम सम सपोर्ट एज वेल. उधर कुछ
I
टाइम
just
थोड़ा
want to I just want to say, imagine how bad of a defender Di Lorenzo is कि वो 2 साल क्वाराट्सखेलिया के साथ रहा और वो फिर भी कुछ नहीं सीखा. I just had to end on this note, man.
Yeah, which is crazy, which is crazy. But yeah, Di Lorenzo apparently is going to extend his contract with Napoli, so that's another
And we are
thing.
gonna see Di Lorenzo on TV in India
Yeah, oh my god, yeah. एक सवा
with
एक का मैच.
with
I
with
can
Allegri
imagine.
ball, with Allegri ball.
I can imagine. I can imagine.
Exactly.
I can imagine Lecce versus Napoli at 1:15 a.m. Di Francesco versus Allegri. My God.
Oh,
Oh God.
मतलब
Yeah. Proper.
मतलब तू तो ऐसा मतलब ऐसा जाग के सेलिब्रेट करेगा और कुछ नहीं.
I
Open a
will
bottle
actively
of
root for Allegri in that match.